Hello and welcome to KANSHE University's Business Analyst training. This training is conducted by KANSHE University. It's a division of KANSHE INFOTECH. Our email address is training@kansheinfotech.com. Our phone number is 832-330-9377. Our website is http://training.kansheinfotech.com. You can visit our website to see the other course offerings we have. You can also visit this website to access the material for this class. We have already covered how you can access the portal, how you can log in and access the resources of this class on our portal in the previous class. And all the resources from this class and further classes will be provided on the portal. This is the second class. If you're seeing this as a demo class, this is the first actual class. The first class is a review of the portal and how to use it. This is the first actual class of business analysis, but it's class number 2. We will start with this class right now. So what is a business and what is a corporation? Well, a business is the activity of making, buying, or selling goods or providing services in exchange for money. A business is also work that is part of a job. A business is also the amount of activity that is done by a store, maybe a company, maybe a factory. So what is a corporation? A corporation is a legal entity such as a business, municipality, organization. Example, schools, the school you go to, the university you go to. For example, University of Houston, University of Texas, University of Tennessee, or any other university. The government, the state government, the city government, City of Houston, the county, Harris County, the federal government, and so on. So again, corporation is a legal entity such as a business, municipality, or organization like schools, university, government, etc. that involves more than one person, formed to conduct business for profit or non-profit purpose or motive. In other words, it's a group of people acting as one body, and examples are for profit corporation, Walmart, BP, Microsoft, Wells Fargo, pretty much any company you do business with in today's world. Example for non-profit, Goodwill stores, Red Cross, universities, especially state universities, hospitals, and so on. A corporation can contain various departments. Corporations may conduct businesses with each other or maybe customers as individuals or groups or entities. Now, what that means is a corporation, for example, let's say you're a business, you provide certain, maybe you do wholesale, right? Maybe wholesale of products. So you provide as a business services to another business by selling them products in wholesale. Now, this is a product that could be a service. Same way, corporations could provide products or goods or services to other corporations or other organizations or other entities. At the same time, there are other corporations who provide maybe goods or products or services directly to the end consumer or individuals. For example, the bank, you're the customer for the bank, you do banking with the bank, or maybe Walmart, you go buy stuff from Walmart in their stores. So you are the customer, right? So the corporation is doing business directly with you. The idea of a corporation is to generate revenue, make money. Okay, again, the idea is to generate revenue by performing what? Associated functions by engaging the stakeholders. So, for example, doing sales to customers, like Walmart is selling you products. As a customer, you buy products from Walmart. So, Walmart is doing the function, the associated function is sales. And they're generating revenue by that. They're making profit out of that. They're making money out of that by engaging who? You, the stakeholders, and of course the various departments. And when I'm saying that Walmart has other departments, right? They have purchasing department, they have managers, they have shipping department, and so on. So all these departments work together to the common goal of making sure that there is product available in the stores and customers are buying it, right? Okay. Examples of there are two types of departments in a company. revenue generating departments, and cost incurring departments. The revenue generating departments are sales, customer service, retention, marketing. Now, why are these revenue generating departments? Because they are directly involved on a daily basis in the process of generating revenue for the company. So for example, sales. It's a direct involvement of sale of the product or the service to the customer, maybe the end customer or the business customer, and generating revenue out of it. Customer service is part of that. Retention, when customers, they want to cancel their account or maybe leave the product or service, to retain those customers. Retention department. Marketing. Marketing department is trying to market the product or service. So these departments are directly involved with generating revenue for the company. Now, there are some cost incurring departments. Now, these are called cost incurring departments because they are not generating any revenue. Now, why do we need those? Well, why do we want to spend money? Why do we want to incur costs? Well, obviously, we need some other departments to support, to facilitate the revenue generating departments, right? I mean, they cannot work in isolation. For example, you need maybe human resources to hire the manpower to do the sales and the marketing and everything. You need maybe a store or maybe a facility or a warehouse to store your products. So maybe you need a facilities department. So these departments support the activities or other departments which are actually revenue generating. So these departments are basically supportive departments, all right? So that's why we need them. Moving on. So in this slide, I'm going to show you the structure of a company, and this is an example, okay? On the very top, we have the CEO of the company. Okay, CEO is the Chief Executive Officer of the company. Most of us in today's world understand what a CEO is. He is maybe the topmost guy in a corporation, in a company, who is running the company basically. That is basically either the CEO or the president or maybe the director or so on. All right. Now, underneath the CEO, pretty much most of the time, and this is how most of the organizations are actually structured, is they will have other departments or other managers or other executives reporting to the CEO. All right. Now, for example, in this example, what we have maybe an engineering company. So we have engineering vice president. We have a marketing vice president. We have an IT vice president or chief information officer or chief technology officer. CIO is chief information officer. CTO is chief technology officer. Okay. R&D, research and department vice president. A finance vice president or CEO. And all of these executives are senior level executives reporting to the CEO. All right. Now, further, each of these individual executives will have people reporting to them, right? Now, obviously, the engineering vice president or the marketing vice president or the IT VP, CIO, CTO, or the research and development vice president or the finance CEO, they're not going to be doing all of the work of the company, right? And we are assuming it's a large corporation. And at the same time, there'll be so many different tasks, maybe that's not within their scope of duties, right? So they will have other people working for them, right? Staff under them. Okay, so each of these would then basically have further breakdown of the roles into other people reporting to them, other managers, other staff, other labor reporting to them, other employees. All right. Now, what we have done in this example is we have only broken down one of the VPs or CIO, the IT one, because that is our concern right now. So under the IT VP, we may have several other people reporting to the IT VP. For example, the director of PMO, which is a project management, all right, director of development, director of network services, director of business analysis, director of quality assurance. Okay. Further, now since we are talking about business analysis, and this is a business analysis class, maybe under the director of BA, you may have further roles. For example, let's just say senior manager commercial operations, senior manager products and pricing, senior manager infrastructure, all right? And then again, under the senior manager commercial operations, you have further two roles, for example, BA manager for data store and BA manager for reporting. And finally, under the BA manager data store, you may have business analyst 1, business analyst 2, business analyst 3, 4, and 5. Now, in this example over here, what you see is an organizational structure of a company, and we are looking at the business analysis section for it. Now, I'm not saying by showing you this example that this is exactly how it is going to be within every organization. I'm also not saying that each of these other executives won't have people under them. In fact, what I said is this is just a general view of how the organization may be structured, organized, and each of these, again, to reiterate myself, each of these executives and each of these branch outs will most likely, most possibly, will or will not have a further branch down of other roles or other people reporting to those people and performing certain functions. Okay, so let's move on. This is an organization structure sample for Baker Hughes. Okay, now this is only for the US regional structure. All right, now this is the land Paul Butero division of their business, and underneath that division, if you see this straight line, okay, you have 3 branch outs. Okay, one branch goes there, one branch goes there, one branch goes there. So all of these departments are part of this main division. Okay, so what are the departments? Finance, HSE, IT, HR, legal, and marketing. All right, now further there's other departments: sales, HCC, Lift, Oil Tools, and Atlas. If you see, this is still a branch out from the main branch. Okay, so all of these in the top and this and all these peach colored ones, they're all departments. Okay, now further, what we have here is each department has its own sub departments or subdivisions. All right, so for example, sales has production sales, well construction sales, national sales, commercial management. Likewise, HCC has its own divisions, and they are probably by different methods. For example, they have a West division, which is probably a geographical area. Excuse me. They have an East division. They have a Central South. Then they have other methods of defining departments. So they have a fluids department, they have a tech department, they have a performance department, and they have a R&M department. All right. Same way, Lift has its own departments, Oil Tools has its own department, and Atlas has its own department. All right. So basically, when you have a department, you could have multiple departments, and this organizational structure is different from the one I showed before. The earlier one was organizational structure based on just the roles within the organization. This organizational structure is based on the different departments in the organization. Okay. All right, moving on. So let's just say now in an organization you have multiple projects. Now, how would the organization be organized when there are multiple projects? So let's just say maybe there's a CEO at the top, all right, and then you have 3 different managers reporting to the CEO, all right. So you have the BA manager, you have the development manager, and then you have the QA manager. They're all reporting to the CEO, all right. And each of these managers further has reporting from these different business analysts, developers, and testers. So the business analysts report to the BA manager, the developer reports to development manager, and the tester reports to the QA manager. All right, and each of these belong to a different project. So where you see this orange box, this is product 1 manager. So the product 1 manager gets reporting from the business analyst, the developer, and the tester. And then you have a product 2 manager who gets the reporting from that project's business developer and testers. And product 3 manager gets reporting from that particular project's business analyst, developer, and tester. All right. Okay. So I hope the idea is clear how multiple projects may be organized. And this is one way of organizing multiple projects within an organization. Moving on. So some of the IT roles. Now there are several roles in IT in a business, and there are several different roles in IT. Okay. Now some of these may be software, maybe service, maybe application development roles. Okay. Um, you have you may have managers like project managers, QA managers, etc. Then you may have domain experts or BE in short, or business analyst, BA in short. You may have architects, you may have developers, you may have testers, and so on. So what are the project team roles? These are the different project team roles. Okay, let's just say this is the project life cycle of the organization. Okay, so you have now your project. All right. Now within that project, you have maybe a project management office, the PMO. Then maybe you have a program manager. Then maybe you have a portfolio manager. Then there are other stakeholders. We will get towards stakeholders in a little bit. From the other side, we have customers or users. We have vendors, business partners. We have maybe functional managers. We have operations management. All right. Now, within the project, who are the stakeholders? All of these people are the project stakeholders. All right. Okay. Then additionally, you have the sponsor. He's the main guy. He's the guy who's giving the money. And we'll get into who the sponsor is in one of the future classes. You have your project team. Okay. Within the project team, you have a project manager. Excuse me. You have project team members. You have project management. Okay. And they're all part of the team. Okay. So what are the project team roles? You have various project team roles. For example, you have the sponsor, like I said. You have he's the guy who sponsors the project. He provides the money for the project. Okay, without him, the project cannot take place. All right. Then there's the project manager. You may have several different other roles like business analyst, change manager, quality department, which may have quality manager, QA lead, testers, and so on. A solutions team, a liaison roles, process analysts, trainers, testers, solution architects, SMEs, system analysts, technical writers, users, designers, developers, and so on. And this is not fixed. You may have different size of teams. If it's a small project or if it's a small company, you may have a smaller team. If it's a bigger project, you may have several people in the team. In fact, you may have more than one business analyst and maybe multiple testers and maybe uh, you know multiple solution architects and so on. So it really depends on what kind of project it is or how many projects you're working on. Okay, all right. So where is the business analyst in all this? Okay, so business analyst is basically in the center right now. Okay, and who is he reporting to, interacting with? A lot of people, all of these people. Okay, so the business analyst is basically interacting with or reporting to a lot of the pretty much the entire group of stakeholders. So he's interacting with the sponsor, the liaison roles, users, SMEs or subject matter experts, change manager, technical writers, process analysts, system analysts, trainers, quality assurance analysts, testers, developers, designers, solution architects, and the project manager. Okay, all right. So what is business analysis? What does it involve? Well, research and learning or identifying the needs of the business. Again, researching, learning, or identifying the needs or requirements of the business or the client. Second, designing or developing a solution for the needs or requirements. Okay. Strategizing, developing a strategy, identifying where the business stands in relation to rivals, identifying the strengths and weaknesses in the business, collecting and using data to perform informed business decision making. Types of analysis. There are different types of analysis like strategic planning, business model analysis, process design, and system analysis. So what's the purpose of business analysis? Well, to identify where the business stands in relation to its rivals. Now, if you're a business, you obviously want to know what the competitors are doing, right? Correct. Now, other purpose is to collect and use data to inform the business and make good decisions in good decision making, in making informed decisions, right? Identifying the strength and weakness in the business. If the company knows what are the strengths, they can take advantage of that, right? And if they know their weaknesses, they can either resolve their weaknesses, or at least if they know what their weaknesses are, they will try to minimize them, right? Okay. Um, use information to inform strategic planning or prepare strategic planning, right? For strategically planning, business analysis is done. Okay. So what are the typical deliverables in a business analysis? This is a list of typical deliverables in a business analysis. You have business requirements, functional requirements, non-functional requirements, as-is processes or flowcharts, to-be processes also in the form of flowcharts, a business case. A business case is basically a strategic plan which provides the risk and return to the stakeholders. Okay. So this is just an illustration. What is exactly a business analyst is doing. So what is a business analyst? A business analyst is someone who analyzes an organization or a business domain and documents its business or processes or system, assessing the business model or its integration with technology. Okay, I'll give you other definitions. Business analysis is basically a bridge between business problems and technology solutions, analyzing requirements or business problems, transforming and resolving business problems with the help of technology. Now, what am I trying to say here? Well, what I'm trying to say here is business analyst is basically the bridge. He's the guy who's communicating, or lady, who's communicating the information from the customer to the software development team, right? The project management team. So basically, let's say if the customer says they want a certain product to be made in a certain way. Now, the development team does not get directly to communicate with it. It's the job of the business analyst to understand what the customer needs and convert that into a requirement, okay, to develop the idea and present that idea and how it needs to be developed to the development team so they can work on it. Okay, so that's the business analyst's job. So that's why the business analyst is a bridge between business problems and technology solutions. So bridge between the business side and the technical side. Okay, and what does he do? He analyzes the organization or the business domain and documents the business or processes or systems. Okay, assesses the business model or its integration with technology. Okay, basically transform the problem and resolve the issues with the help of technology. Okay, okay. Basically, he working as a liaison among stakeholders in order to understand the structure, policies, and operations of an organization and recommend solutions that enable the organization to achieve its goals. Now, if you remember the slide I had just shown you with the business analyst in the middle and the arrows pointing outwards towards the stakeholders, those are all the stakeholders. And the business analyst basically is a liaison or the person of contact of interest who basically understands the stakeholders and understands the structure, okay, policies and operations of an organization, and recommends solutions that enable the organization to achieve its goals. All right. Okay. Further, the business analyst provides decision support pertaining to acceptable risk through formal capture analysis and documentation of technical requirements. So basically, what other thing the business analyst is doing is he or she is understanding the business, analyzing it, determining how much the risk is there, determining whether it is acceptable or not, or determining how much is acceptable risk, and documenting it. Okay, and documenting the requirements for it and presenting it. So, who is a business analyst? Well, anybody could be a business analyst technically. I could be a business analyst, you could be a business analyst, and so on. And you don't necessarily need to have an IT background to be a business analyst. And business analysis can be done in a non-IT and the IT side. Okay, we are only going to concentrate in this class on the IT side of business analysis, not on the non-IT side of business analysis, because that also can be done, and that is done. Uh, so who can be a business analyst? Ideally, if you have a bachelor's degree in business, maybe computer science, maybe a technology or a related discipline, like maybe healthcare, biotech, so on. Uh, Sometimes you may not need a degree or an IT background, but experience or knowledge of the uh, area where you're going to be doing the business analysis. And for example, if you've, let's say, been working for a company who's been doing sales, then you know probably in and out of the entire sales process. Let's say if you've been working for 10 years, you know everything exactly the way it works, how it works, and how it's supposed to work. So you have special expertise in that business, right? So you could basically be a business analyst in that case. So why do we need a business analyst? Well, most of the projects are never delivered on time and are budget. A lot of them fail, and a lot of them remain challenged. They may have issues, they may have problems. Maybe they're not working properly or as they're supposed to work, right? So what do the BAs do? They basically break down the work into small chunks like requirements, scope, etc. And obviously, when you break something down, that makes things easier, right? It makes easy to develop and test. Let's say if I told you, hey, build me a car. Can you build me a car just, in a second? No, you need all the different parts one by one, one by one, one by one. Maybe first you will get the chassis and then put the thing over there. Then maybe you will get start putting some of the parts which go inside the car and so on. So you will build on top of one item after the other. You don't just bring the whole thing together and just put it in one place, right? So the BAs basically what they do is they break down the work into small manageable chunks, and that makes development easier. They document the scope, and they also help in keeping the project on track. Okay. They also support the team. And basically, again, like I said, they are the bridge, or in other words, they fill the gap, or they are the glue that holds the project together. They are the bridge between business and technology. All right. So basically, like I was telling you, most of the projects fail. Now, these are some statistics. According to the Standards Group report, 34% of projects are successful, 51% of projects are challenged, and 15% projects fail. Now, why is that? The successful projects are successful because they are on time, they are on budget, and all the features and functions are there. Challenge projects. What happens with them? What is the problem with them? Either 82% of the projects have overtime overruns, 43% have cost overruns, so they've gone beyond the budget, and maybe 52% have features and functions which are only 52% of the features are implemented instead of 100%. So, and what about failed projects? Well, failed projects are either projects which are cancelled before completion because of no deliverables. All right. What are the functions of a BA? The BA could function as a facilitator, moderator, skilled listener, team leader, visionary, troubleshooter, SME or domain expert, and project manager. And there could be other roles which a business analyst could play. Now, all of these roles, you may be playing some of these roles by default as a business analyst, and some of these roles may or may not be applicable to you. For example, you may be the domain expert, or you may not be, or you may be the project manager, or you may be doing project management as well while you're a BA, but maybe not. Okay. So what are the different titles for business analysts? Now, business analysts can have different titles like business analyst, business systems analyst, IT analyst, process manager, requirements analyst, application consultant, application analyst, requirements engineer, solutions expert, and so on. The title doesn't mean anything. The title could be varied, and because every company has a different way of looking at things, the same role may be titled differently in a different company. So maybe if one company calls it a business analyst, the other company may call it IT analyst. While in a completely another company, a business analyst might mean completely something else. So title doesn't necessarily mean something, but these are some of the titles which a business analyst could have. Okay, an IT business analyst could have. All right. So who are the stakeholders? Now, I mentioned all the different stakeholders. Now, here's a list of some of the stakeholders and what their concern is. Okay, so the government, their concern may be taxation, value-added tax, legislation, employment, truthful reporting, diversity, legalities, externalities, etc. What about employees? Employees are another stakeholder. Their concerns could be rate of pay, job security, compensation, respect, truthful communication. Customers, another stakeholder. Value, quality, customer care, ethical products could be their concerns. Suppliers are also stakeholders. Their concerns could be providers of products and services used in the end product for the customer, equitable business opportunities. Creditors, their concerns could be credit score, new contracts, and liquidity. Community, and their concerns could be jobs, involvement, environmental protection, shares, truthful communication. Trade unions, quality, worker protection, jobs. Owners of the business, profitability, longevity, market share, market standing, successful succession planning, raising capital, growth, social goals. And then investors, their concern could be return on investment or income. And these are some of the additional stakeholders in a business. Okay. Now this is from the business side. Now, what's a project? As per PMI, it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. Again, it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service, or result. So basically, it has a defined beginning and end. It's not a routine operation. It has specific set of operations designed to achieve a specific goal. Now, every project has a defined beginning, obviously, and a defined end. There has to be some meaningful task when you're doing a project. Why is it called a project? Because it's not, and again, it's not a routine operation, right? You don't do a project. If it's a routine thing, then it's not a project. A routine thing is just maybe an activity, or maybe daily routine, you can call it, or daily task. A project is something which is done only because to achieve something new, right? Or maybe to change something, right? It is not a daily or routine task. And it has a specific set of operations designed to achieve a specific goals. Okay. For example, development of a software for an improved business process, Or another non-IT example is construction of a building or bridge. Another non-IT example is relief effort after a natural disaster. Expansion of sales into a new geographic market. Another non-IT example. So what are the project types? And we are referring to IT projects. There are two basic types: business focused projects. In that, for example, you have buying computers, maybe for employees, maybe setting up of a call center. Okay, so that's a business focused project, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to grow their business, and they're setting up the services, right? Providing the hardware or infrastructure for the business. Then there is information technology focused projects. Those are what? For example, a website or a portal, let's say your bank's website or your airline's website, or maybe if your company has an intranet or an internet portal, so that kind of website. Okay. Other than that, application to achieve some tasks, operation, result, or provide a service. For example, online banking is a service, right? Online ticketing is a service, right? Email is a service. Search is a service. So those are basically online services. Software development, like we all have used Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Outlook, Notepad, or Windows. All of these are what? These are software. So development of software. And each of these projects may further be subdivided into other categories based on other factors. All right. Now, examples of project types, and this is a general project type. Okay. Now there could be different projects, and they may most likely these are may or may not be IT. These are mostly general project classifications. Administrative project, for example, installing a new accounting system. In construction, you may have a building or road construction. Computer software development, this is of course an IT project, so you may be building a new computer program. Design of plans, maybe architectural engineering plans. Okay. Equipment or a system installation, a telephone system, event or relocation, maybe Olympics, maintenance of a process in industries like petrochemical plant or electricity generation plant, new product development, maybe a new drug, maybe defense product, research, feasibility study or investigating a chemical, and there may be other projects. Okay. So two perspectives to project. Now there's the project management perspective, and the steps in that are initiation, planning, execution, control, closure. Okay, so initiation is start, then planning, then execution is doing it, control is controlling once you've started doing it, and closing it. Okay, so that's the project management perspective. Now there's an SDLC perspective, or the soft system development lifecycle, or the software development lifecycle. Okay, and we will cover SDLC in one of the other classes as well in a little bit more detail. But right now, so SDLC has the following steps: analysis, design, construction, testing, implementation, post-implementation support. Okay, and the typical project phases again: initiation. Under initiation, you have activities like planning, execution, control, then analysis, then you have design, then you have construction, and then you have testing. These are the typical project phases. Finally, implementation and closure, and post-implementation. So what's the BA's role during the life of the project? He could be a project manager, and basically what he is he's basically accountable for the whole project's coordination and successful implementation. Okay, making sure that all the requirements, all the deliverables of the project have been provided to the customer in time and on budget, right? And basically his job is to make sure everything runs smoothly, right? So he's like a orchestra conductor. You know, even if you have seen one of those in maybe television or movies, where you have a huge orchestra, a band, where a lot of people are playing different instruments, like somebody is playing saxophone, somebody is playing drums, somebody is playing violin, and there's a conductor, a guy who's basically moving his hands or stick. That guy is referred to as the conductor. And his job is to basically coordinate their work, coordinate the work of these musicians. So basically, BA is doing what? He is being the orchestra conductor, in other words, and coordinating the work of all the different specialists who are involved in the project management in the project team. For example, the developers, the testers, and so on. And of course, BA is of course acting as a business analyst. So he's basically obtaining the requirements, analyzing them, and leading the analysis and doing the planning for the project. The business analyst may sometimes also do some testing, basically user acceptance testing, because they want to make sure it's mostly a lot of times it's their task to ensure that whatever the requirements have been presented to the business analyst by the customer, they have been met and they have been captured. So basically the intent of the requirements has been captured. So let's just say if the customer wanted, let's say a calculator, and the development team has built a calculator. Now, during the user acceptance testing, the business analyst basically will make sure that everything is working in the calculator and is acceptable as per the requirements given by the client, so that once they have tested it, they can provide it to the customer, right? So the BA's role is from initiation to analysis to design, pretty much through the entire project life cycle. The BA's role is there, okay, from top to bottom. But the main role of a BA will be in the analysis phase. Now, here's an illustration of how things might be, and this may not necessarily be true, but this is just to keep things light and funny. Uh, this is, let's just say, what the customer wanted. Okay, this is how they wanted this, and this is how the project leader understood it to be. Okay, and then this is how the analyst, okay, or the business analyst designed it. Okay, this is how the programmer wrote it. Maybe this is how the business consultant described it. Okay, then this is how the project was documented, what how the operations team installed it. This is how they built the customer. Okay, this is how it was supported, and this is what the customer really needed. So basically what I'm trying to say in this slide is, maybe it is very important for us as business analysts to understand exactly what the customer wants, because if the customer wants this and we deliver maybe something like this and charge them like this, that's obviously not going to make the customer happy, right? And of course, if we have something like this, that's a broken down system, right? And at the same time, this is an incorrect design. So it is very important to understand what the customer wants, whether the customer wants this or whether the customer wants this, because the customer has described this, but they actually want this, right? And it's very important to understand that, right? Okay, anyways, moving on. So why do projects fail? Primary reasons for failed projects, despite, technology has moved on so much, we have some of the best technology in today's time and it's still improving. The factors behind failed projects, one of the main most important factors behind failed projects is incomplete requirements. 13.1% of projects fail because of incomplete requirements. 12.4% of projects fail because of lack of user involvement, because the users was not involved. 10.6% projects were failing because of lack of resources. If the right resources are not available, projects could fail. For example, and I'm saying resources, that could mean maybe you don't have good enough developers or testers who have tested it properly, right? Unrealistic expectation, 9.9%. Now, other than failed project, we also have challenge projects. Now, I already talked to you in one of the earlier slides what are challenge projects. And what are the factors for challenge projects? Lack of user input, 12.8%. Incomplete requirements and specification, 12.3%. Now, if you see here, almost 12 to 13% is basically causing either projects to be challenged or failing. So that gives us a picture that if the requirements are not complete or not done correctly, then the projects are most likely going to fail. Finally, changing requirements and specifications, 11.8%. Now, this kind of ties into the incomplete requirements in a way that this has to deal with requirements. The second point was incomplete requirements. The third point is changing requirements and specifications. If the requirements are constantly changing, then obviously it is very difficult to keep up with them, right? And because let's say you got a certain requirement from the client, and after the product is developed, the client comes back and say, hey, no, this is not what we wanted, this is what we want now. So now you have to pretty much start building again. So basically, if the requirements are not known, at least the larger picture, and if the requirements are constantly changing, then projects are it's very easy for the projects to fail, right? Okay, so this is again another view of why projects could fail: lack of sponsor involvement, poor strategic alignment, lack of handover, poor planning, ineffective communication, lack of formal project management processes, long time to delivery, poor risk management, poor team skills, poorly defined objectives, but mainly poor or wrong requirements. Okay, so poor requirement management is consistently in the top three reasons of the failure of the project, regardless of whatever source it is. Okay, all right. So with this, we come to the conclusion of this class, and we will continue in the next class.